Thanks, Katie. Is that good lighting? Do I look good in this? Come on now. Oh, no, it's all right. Here's some I brought earlier. Tell you guys ever just had one of those days? Today's definitely one of those days for me. I walked in here, very focused on 12 things at once, completely forgot that our church has an alarm, walked straight towards the office, and then just this blaring alarm just started going off. And it was like a solid 3 seconds. And I'm like, what is that? I was like, oh, there's an alarm here. Anyway, so I'm having one of those days, so be patient with me. I'm going to pray about it later. For those that don't know me, there's a couple here that are new. So my name's Josh. I'm the youth director here. I'm always about a good time. I'm all about loving Jesus. And if you don't love Jesus, that's all right. We can still be good friends. So get excited for it. Before I start, Ashley, there is a bag on the steps there. And Katie, there is a small jar next to the bag there. Well, pens. Would you be able to pass the books to all the youth in the room? Please, thank you. Anyway, so I've got some notebooks here and some pens. Because I was reflecting before I did this message. Hold up, this is annoying me. I was thinking about how, like, at our squad nights, we do some soaps. Yeah, so we've all learned what soaps are for the most part. But at the end of our soaps, we just, like, leave the paper and then go home. And for me, when I was thinking about that, I'm like, that's not, like, when I think about a soap, that's not the intention of it. The intention is to be able to write it. In the moment, there's something that speaks out to you, but then you reflect on it later on. So I want to give you these notebooks now, so that not only for future soaps, but if you want to take notes during the message, you're more than welcome. Just a little tip on note-taking. Don't write everything I say down, because it probably won't make sense. But just write down the things that, like, really stick out to you. Or even if I'm saying a story, and then someone's like, oh, that's funny, and then you write that down, and say, Josh, it's funny. Yeah? Or just, like, things that speak to you so that you can actually relate to it when you read it, rather than being like, what the heck does this mean? Does that make sense? Yeah? Come on. All right, I'm going to start talking. I'm feeling real physically. Is that? Nah, here we go. All right. So, for the most part, we've all probably had friends stay over, yeah? Yeah? Do you ever feel like when your friends are over, you're, like, unprepared at the start of it, and so you spend half the time whilst your friends are there, either making beds or trying to find blankets, sleeping under a cardboard box. We all know those nights. Or, like, cooking breakfast or, like, setting things up. Like, you feel like you just spend a lot of the time doing that sometimes. When you've, like, intentionally invited your friends over so you can hang with them, but then you end up just spending all this time doing other stuff. A bit of a story. I caught up with some friends of mine that I haven't seen for a very long time in Lilydale a couple of weeks ago. And you see, a bunch of lads, we make a fair bit of mess, I'll be honest with you. We are men. I'm sure women make mess too, but wouldn't know about it. So, I wasn't meant to be funny. Anyway, thanks, Jared, appreciate that. In the morning, right, so we all, had our brekkie, we're all sitting around there doing absolutely what's that? Niche? Sorry, guys. I'm gonna stop with TikTok. Anyway, so whilst we were just sitting there doing nothing, talking, I was like, oh, we need to start cleaning up. I didn't verbalize this. I just got up and started cleaning. All right, so for a solid 30 minutes in this morning that we're all just hanging out, I'm just, cleaning. And it's like, I come here to hang with my friends, and suddenly in the morning I'm just cleaning. Like, I'm sure, my mate Brad, he would have appreciated me cleaning his house. But it's like, that wasn't the intention of being there. The intention was to be, as a group, to focus on the relationship, yeah? And, but I was so focused on the fact that, 6 hours later, I needed to mow a lawn in Morwell, that, like, at 10 a.m., I'm doing the dishes. And it's like, I could have just been present in the situation, you know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, I don't just tell my stories for nothing. I do have a point. My first point being Luke 10:38. Oh, come on. Yeah, Luke 10:38, 42. we see a similar story to me doing my dishes. So, now, as they went on their way, this is Jesus and the disciples, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. Now, she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. She went up to him and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her to help me." Martha really went up to Jesus, dobbed on her sister for not doing chores, and was like, Mum, she's not helping me. Like, I don't know who you guys really care about. I'm going to ScoMo, he's a big figure, probably. Scott Morrison, if you're not up to date with current politics. So, Scott Morrison, he's sitting at your dinner table, and your mum's like, "Hey, Bella and Georgia, can you set the table for me?" And whilst Bella's, setting the table, Georgia's like, "Hey, what's with this latest bill that you've just passed through Parliament?" And Bella's not having it. She goes up, "Sir, Scott, whatever relationship you've got with him. George is actually not helping me set the table. Can you tell her to help me set the table?" Like, who does that to Jesus? Like, honestly, think about it. Going to Jesus and dobbing on your sibling for not helping you. Anyway, I'm going to continue. But the Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her." So I just want to ask you this. I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it. What is Jesus saying here? And why was it so important that it ended up in the Bible? So we have Martha. She invited Jesus into her house, but rather than being with her guest, she was focused on serving. Whereas Mary, her sister, whilst Martha was slavering over a hot stove, she sat down at Jesus' feet and listened to him talk. You see, Martha preparing in this is not the focus of the story. I believe that we have two options, right? And in life, we have two options. We can either let the world's worries consume us, or we can let it deal with itself and just be in the presence of Jesus. Does that make sense? Yeah. If something doesn't make sense, just yell out. It's interactive. Get excited. Come on. So Jesus wants a relationship with us, not for us to be so focused on works that we forget about him completely. You see, Mary knew what the priority was in this situation. It was being with Jesus and building relationship. Like, yes, serving and all these things are good things to do, but we need to focus on the relationship rather than the stewardship. Yeah? So, Matthew 21 to 23 says this. Is that big enough? Can you guys read that? Yeah, lovely. "Not everyone who says to me," what was that? It's red. Yeah. When Jesus speaks in the Bible, depends on the Bible you got, it'll be red. Anyway, so this is Jesus speaking. "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and do many mighty works in your name?' But then I will declare to them," Jesus, "I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness." So here, Jesus was speaking to his followers. This is the Sermon on the Mount, if you've heard about that. So he was addressing the religiousness within this crowd. The crowd that thought they had to do things to be a Christian because that's what was modeled to them. Yeah? He's trying to explain that the new focus is a relationship. Are we so focused on doing for Christ that we've forgotten about focusing on being with Christ? Yeah. You see, I'll be honest with you, at times, sometimes I still do, I struggle with my worth. Yeah, I think that my actions lead to worth. Because that in society, that's what we're taught, right? We're taught that good grades equal worth. That if you're good at sport, well, you're good in my books. You got a good job, worth. Got a good house, good car, some good snacks at lunch. Your mum gets you from takeaway every lunch. Come on, wish that happened. Got good kicks, good clothes. We get taught that our possessions and that our accomplishments lead to honour and worth. So of course, it's going to be hard for us to understand that God loves us no matter what we've done or what we're doing or what we've accomplished in life. You see, so often we get caught up in achieving things for good that we forget our relationship with God. You know, yep, I've read my Bible 10 minutes every day. Tick that box. I've spoken to someone every day about how amazing Jesus is. I say the Lord's Prayer every night. I volunteer in kids' church, big church, school chapel, the breakfast club. Man, I'm just a great Christian. Look at all the good things I'm doing. Yeah? It just doesn't make sense. You see, have I doubled that up? We're going for it again. Matthew 7 says this. I'm not gonna, you know what I'm talking about. You know, it's been one of them weeks, I'm telling you. Then I'll declare to them, I never knew you. Yeah, because I was so focused on doing. See, are we trying to look Christian to mask the fact that our relationship with God is actually struggling? Are we trying to do things to maybe hide from the light so that people think we've got it all together? Now, I don't know about you guys, but as a pastor's kid, I always thought I had to be this perfect thing. And so I completely neglected the relationship with God because for me to address the relationship, I had to look like I didn't have it all together. I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to flip the table around a bit here. Is there someone in your life, this is a legitimate question, is there someone in your life that you love no matter what? That no matter what you do, you still love them? Put your hands up. All right? Put your hands down. No, leave them up. Sorry. I need to finish my sentence. Put your hands down if you'd no longer love them after I say this sentence. Yep. Now, what if they say, I wish you died right now so I could have all the money that you've got? Would you still love them? What if they're a bit jealous of you, so they threw you into a pit and sold you to slavery? Yeah? What if they decided, what if they decided that, you know, they could get 2 weeks' wage or like a week's wage for trading you to someone, knowing that you'd die the most painful death anyone can ever die? Would you still love them? You know, average wage, I don't know. Say someone walks up to you, Claire. No, who's still got the hand up? Bella. I don't know who you're thinking of, but whoever that person is, someone's talking to them, you're right there. Hey, I'm going to give you $1,500, right? If you give me Bella and then I whip her, make her unrecognisable, and she'll die the most gruesome death known to man. Would you still love them? Come on, it's a good one, I think. I don't know. Just think about it. That's the thing. You can love them, but maybe they don't love you back, all right? So if you've been at Gap Youth for longer than a couple of weeks, you can put your hands down now. If you've got your hands up, you're a better person than me. And if you've been at Gap Youth longer than probably a term, you would have at least heard the parable of the prodigal son probably about 4 times by now. And you're going to hear it again, all right? Because there's so much stuff in the parable of the prodigal son. All right, so Luke 15, Jesus describes the parable of God and his love for us. God being the Father that's referenced in this. I just feel like a burp's coming and just doesn't. Anyway. So before this bit, a son goes to his father and wants his inheritance. Meaning, Dad, I want you to be dead so I can have the money that I'll get when you die. He ends up blowing all his money on women and on partying, and now he's broke. Working on a pig farm. Now there's nothing wrong with a pig farm, is there, Tilly? Nah, come on now. But in Jewish culture, pigs were seen as unclean. They were seen as these dirty animals that only like the scum would touch. Yeah? But you'll love some crackle now. So what? Crackle. Come on. Anyway, come on guys, we're talking about Jesus. Anyway, so he realized that life is better with the Father. That being with God is actually better than where he's at living his own life. So do you think that the Father would accept his son back in this story? Or would he say, you wanted me dead, you're not my son anymore? Realistically, what would your thoughts be on this? Yeah. So in verse 20 to 24, we hear what God says about this. So he, being the son, arose and came to his father. And while he was still a long way off, his father saw him, felt compassion, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I've sinned against you and against heaven. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, quickly bring the best robe, put it on him. Put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and he is found. And they began to celebrate. So not only did the father accept the son back, but he ran to his son. The father saw his son whilst he was a long way off, meaning that he was looking for his son, waiting for him to come back. So not only did the father welcome his son back, he was actually waiting for his son to return, looking out for him. And then when he returned, he threw a party for his son to come home. It's a pretty crazy thing to do for someone who not long ago would prefer money over your life. Yeah? So in Matthew 24, now have a read of the whole thing for yourself, but I'm just going to tell this little bit here, and it tells the events of Jesus being betrayed by one of his disciples. So leading up to the scripture that we're about to read, Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' disciples, goes to the chief priests and gets 30 pieces of silver and agrees to hand Jesus over to them. So you can, heaps of Googling, everyone will tell you different stuff. Apparently 30 pieces is about 2 weeks' wage. Don't know what your wage was back then, but 30 pieces. Anyway, so after this happened, after Judas agreed to betray Jesus, Jesus and all his disciples sat down at the Last Supper. And he tells them, one of you will betray me. All right. So, that is not... Anyway, I'm going to read off this. Anyway, so Matthew 24:17. Maybe it's not Matthew 24. Anyway, now on the first day of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus. Where will you have us prepare the Passover? He said, go into the city to a certain man and say to him, the teacher says, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Jesus had directed them, and they prepared the Passover. When it was evening, he reclined at the table with the 12. And as they were eating, he said, truly I say to you, one of you will betray me. And they were very sorrowful, and began to say to him one after the other, is it I, Lord? He answered, he who has dipped his hand in this dish with me will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to the man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that man if he had not been born. Judas, who would betray him, answered, is it I, Rabbi? He answered, you have said so. Now, as they were eating, Jesus took bread, and after blessing it, he broke it, and he gave it to his disciples. This is communion, if you haven't clicked on there. And he says, take, eat, this is my body. And then he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, drink of it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, you will not drink again of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Mia, you able to come up for me? You see, so Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. Yet he still invites him in for dinner. And then Judas, being the smart man he is, just double checks that Jesus is still switched on. It's kind of funny how many people ask Jesus dumb questions. Like, Judas has probably got the money sitting in his pocket. And he's like, is it me, Jesus? Like, come on, man. But then Jesus still breaks bread. He blesses it and he hands it out. He hands out a cup saying, drink from this, for this is my blood. It will be poured out for your forgiveness. Jesus forgives Judas before he's even really followed through with the betrayal. So why is it that we think we need to deserve God's love? You see, God desires relationship with you. He wants relationship with you. Like if you look at the start of the Bible, you've got Adam and Eve, right? They disobeyed the one rule that God put in place for them. But who deemed them unworthy after that? Themselves did. They hid from God. And then God came into the garden and he said, where are you? And he sought after them. He was seeking for them. You see, there's a reason that the Bible calls it unconditional love. Unconditional love, meaning love without limitations, love without bounds, conditions, limits. It's not circumstantial. You see, when Jesus died on the cross, do you see it say anywhere that Jesus died for the whole world except for Judas? That he died for the whole world except you because you did that one thing that you can't forgive yourself for? See, John 3:16 to verse 17 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world would be saved through him. So if the bad things that we do don't disqualify us from God's love, that if the bad things we do don't make us unworthy, what makes us think that the good things we do are going to make us worthy? What makes us think that the accolades that we build up are going to make God love us even more? See, if you're able to, could I just get you to stand up for me? And I just want everyone to shut their eyes. Right. So everyone shut your eyes and just picture Jesus looking at you. Think about the emotion that is on his face as he looks at you. About his body language that he has when he's approaching you. Jesus looks you in your eyes. He holds you in his arms and he hugs you. And as he's hugging you, he softly speaks into your ear what he thinks of you. He speaks into your ear his thoughts about you. Now, don't say it out loud, but what is he saying to you? Is it of love? Is it of adoration, of encouragement? Or do you think that he's mad at you, that he's angry at you, that he's saddened by what you're doing? See, as Mia keeps playing, I just want you to focus on Jesus. Focus on what he's saying to you, on his heart for you right now. Now, band, I just want you guys to stay in this place, and when you're ready, you can come up too. But if God's heart for you right now, if what you pictured him say to you wasn't love, wasn't adoration, wasn't encouragement, wasn't uplifting, then whilst everyone's eyes are shut, I just want you to come down the front.
Hey, I just want to thank you for watching this video, and if it's impacted you in any way, shape or form, then feel free to reach out, have a discussion. Even if you're not a part of Gap Youth, we are always here to have that conversation. So I just want to let you know that God loves you, we love you, and I hope you're doing well. Thank you.